Go sheet information. New case. Felony misdemeanor. With Mr. Palmer. How are you, Mr. Palmer?
I'm doing well, Judge. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We have, we'll let the jail in and then I'll let everybody, we have a bunch of observers today, but I want to see arraignments. So I'll let them in. We're gonna, if we get any noise out of them, I'll mute them.
Sure.
But it beats having them try to figure out how to get to YouTube. Not that I'm a big fan of YouTube to begin with, so.
I totally get it.
Contact you. What's your next court date?
You gotta step up here, step up to the table. You gotta have your hoodies, no hoodies, no hoodies, no hats.
No, hoods, no hat.
So we'll start. Jail, how are you? Good afternoon.
For the record, everybody's been given an advice of rights and they're noticed to appear for the next court dates.
Perfect, thank you. We'll do Joel Allen Fuhr first.
You're gonna step right up to the desk, sir.
All right, so we're on the record in People versus Joel Allen Fuhr. Will the parties please introduce themselves? For the record, you are Joel Allen Fuhr, sir?
Yes, I am, sir.
All right, counsel, your appearance for the record.
Thank you and good morning, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office appearing on behalf of Mr. Fuhr for the purposes of arraignment today.
All right, Mr. Fuhr, this is the time set for your arraignment today. I'm going to read you the charges that have been alleged against you and some of those rights you have in those charges. All right, sir?
Okay, thank you.
All right, the allegation is on April 1st, 2023 at 821 North Verlinden Avenue, City of Lansing, Ingham County. Yourself, Joel Allen Fuhr, did in count one, make an assault upon Emily Fuhr by strangulation or suffocation, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being MCL 750.84. That being a felony, 10 years or $5,000. DNA to be taken upon arrest. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Further, in count two, usually referred to as domestic violence, did make an assault or an assault and battery upon Emily Fuhr, his spouse, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being 750.81 parents 2. That's restitution. This offense resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. There may be restitution ordered pursuant to MCL 780.811A. This is a misdemeanor, 93 days and or $500. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Sir, do you understand the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you?
Yes, I do.
All right, and we've already indicated this, but the probable cause conference, the PCC has been set for in this file. Well, let me read you some rights you have in this felony matter, all right? And you've been given these rights inside an advice of rights, but I'll indicate for the record that you, in this felony matter, you have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent till proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to question those witnesses against you, to have the court order any witnesses that you have for your defense to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand the nature of your trial rights in this felony matter, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you are represented today by attorney Robert Palmer for purposes of arraignment only. Do you plan to seek additional representation from the public defender's office in this file?
Your Honor, I can address that. Your Honor, based on my conversation with Mr. Fuhr this morning, it appears that he would not qualify for court-appointed attorney based on income. It is my understanding that Mr. Fuhrer intends to or will likely retain counsel, private counsel to
All right.
represent him in this matter.
Thank you, counsel. You understand, sir, that your probable cause conference on the felony is set for April 14th, 2023 at 9 a.m. And your preliminary examination is set for April 21st, 2023 at 9:30. And that the probable cause conference and preliminary examination are in front of Judge Ward. You understand that you have the right to a preliminary examination within 21 days of your date of arraignment. That is when the people would have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime has been committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. Do you understand your preliminary examination rights, sir?
Yes, I do.
All right, you can be you should be represented by counsel, and my understanding is you plan to retain counsel. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. Do you have a current address different than the 821 North Verlinden Avenue, City of Lansing address that the court can put in its file for contact purposes?
I do have my sister's address in DeWitt.
All right, what address
It's on
is
my
that,
phone.
sir?
It,
All right,
I don't know the house number, but it's on Rambler Road in DeWitt, Michigan.
all right,
And I know it starts with a 1 and a 2, and it's 5 characters long, but I don't know the whole street number. I believe it's in my phone.
all right, and what is your phone number, sir?
517-410-9451.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you on probation or parole, sir?
No, I am not.
Are you employed?
I am employed.
Okay, and where are you currently employed, sir?
The state of Michigan, Michigan Department of State.
Okay. All right. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
I would, Your Honor. I would ask, first of all, I want to be clear here. There was a little surprise because at the time I interviewed Mr. Fuhrer this morning, we were advised that this was a simple assault, a 93-day misdemeanor domestic violence. I was not aware that there was going to be a felony. That came as a surprise to Mr. Fuhrer and I. With that said, Your Honor, I will note that Mr. Fuhrer is a longtime Lansing resident. He is full-time employed with the state of Michigan, as he indicated. It's my understanding that he has no prior criminal history. His only involvement with police ever was traffic violations, a speeding ticket, and I think even that was over 10 years ago or so. He does have, as he indicated, he does have an address where he can reside with his sister. Her name is Marcella Fuhrer. She resides at the Ramblers Drive address in DeWitt. So he certainly has a residence to go to so as to comply with any non-contact orders that the court may impose. I certainly, based on my conversations with Mr. Fuhrer, certainly appears to me that he has some very valid defenses to this case, and I believe that he intends to litigate this matter fully. And of course, as the court is obviously well aware, he enjoys a presumption of innocence in this matter. I don't think Mr. Fuhrer poses a flight risk, nor do I think he is a danger to the community. I have every belief that he will continue to return to court as ordered to do so. I do want to point out one other matter, Your Honor. My understanding is that Mr. Fuhrer and the complaining witness in this matter have a mutual child. That child is nonverbal and autistic. So this is a special needs child that needs regular care. My belief is that Mr. Fuhrer is the primary caregiver for this child, but that child is in the complaining witness's custody right at the moment. I would ask that the court consider certainly not I'm not asking for the court to allow contact between Mr. Fuhrer and the complaining witness, but I would ask the court allow third-party contact so as to exchange that child and allow that child to be back in Mr. Fuhrer's care. With that said, Your Honor, I would request a personal recognizance bond in the matter.
Thank you, counsel. If the defendant, Mr. Fuhrer, is able to make bond, I'll set the following bond conditions. GPS is ordered, and that would be a zone notification. No use of alcohol or drugs without prescription. You may go to the residence one time with a police officer to get your personal belongings. No assaultive behavior. No out-of-state travel. No contact at this time with the victim, Emily Fuhrer. And that would be no contact 2,000 feet of anywhere she lives, goes to school, or works, or or within her person. Not possess a firearm, and report to pretrial services within 48 hours. I've looked at the CCH, and there's none. There's no CCH in this matter. This is a domestic assault with an assault GBH, which is a 10-year. And so the court is going to set bond at $2,000, 10%. I will leave at this time addressing the child for our purposes until the PCC hearing in front of Judge Ward, and she can make a determination as to the appropriate. I'd like a little time to be settled before we decide what to do with the child in this case. Anything else for the record in docket? And People versus Joel Allen Fuhrer, Mr. Palmer.
No, Your Honor, I don't believe so. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You're all set, Mr. Fuhrer. Thank you for your appearance today.
Your Honor, thank you.
So we're on the record in docket in Candy Ray Weiser or Whizzer.
Weiser is correct, sir.
All right, Candy Ray Weiser. And you, ma'am, you are Candy Ray Weiser?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office appearing on behalf of Ms. Weiser for the purposes of arraignment today. She will be making application for court-appointed counsel, and she appears to qualify. I would ask the court enter a not guilty plea on her behalf.
Thank you. All right, so I'll indicate for the register of actions that you do plan to seek representation from the Public Defender's Office.
Yeah, yes.
All right, ma'am. This is the time set for a arraignment on this misdemeanor complaint, and I'll read those allegations that have been alleged against you and then read you some rights you have. I know you've already read it, set an advice of rights, but we'll read them again for our purposes. It is alleged that on April 1st of 2023 at 1345 Roselawn, City of Lansing, Ingham County, that yourself did attempt to commit the following listed offense, and in the attempt did act towards the commission of that offense, but failed in the perpetration or was prevented in the execution, contrary to 750.92, did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger Officer Dylan Royce, a police officer of the Lansing Police Department, that the defendant knew or had reason to know was performing his or her duties contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being 750.81D1, it's a misdemeanor 1 year and or $1,000 upon conviction of an attempted felony. The court shall order enforcement to collect DNA identification profiling samples. Did in count 2 make an assault or assaulted battery upon Jesse Maldonado, a resident or former resident of her household, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being MCL 750.81 parents 2. There's a restitution notice that restitution may be ordered in this case by the court under 780.811A. This is a misdemeanor, 93 days under $500. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506 if not taken at arrest. Ms. Weiser, do you understand the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you?
Yes,
Okay, you have certain rights in this misdemeanor filed. I know that you've signed an advice of rights, and I'll cover those once again with you orally. You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent till proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have the witness against you appear at trial, to question any witnesses brought against you, to have the court order any witnesses the defendant has for the defense to appear at trial, to remain silent, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand your misdemeanor trial rights in this matter, ma'am?
yes, sir, I do. Thank you.
All right. It's my understanding you're going to you're represented by Robert Palmer for purposes of this arraignment, and it's my understanding you plan to seek additional representation from the public defender's office in this case. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes,
All right. Your next pretrial hearing will be and it's okay to it can be via Zoom on April 18th at 10:30 in front of Judge Buchanan.
okay.
Do you have an address for the court file that is different than the 1345 Roselawn address where you can receive some type of contact?
Judge,
I do not.
can I
All
just
right,
come in there?
Go ahead, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Judge. Based on my interview with Ms. Weiser this morning, it's my understanding that she does not have a separate address other than 1345 Roselawn Avenue. What I will say, and I recognize this is messy and that the court has to try to figure this out. What I will say is that my understanding is that that's Ms. Weiser's address. It is not officially Mr. Maldonado's address. I do recognize that he stays there from time to time. I also recognize that Ms. Weiser has to comply with any no contact order. However, my understanding is that she does not have a separate address that she can go to. She is hopeful that she can return home to that address and that he will not be there. She has advised me that if that is not the case, and if the court would not allow her to return to the Roselawn address, she would likely have to stay at a homeless shelter or a women's shelter if released.
All right, thank you. I'm going to indicate that's for the record, Mr. Weiser. I'm going to indicate the address is to be determined at this point in time. You're going to have a no contact order, and so you have to abide by that no contact order.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
have a phone number for the court file, ma'am?
Yes, 517-243-4608.
460. Are you on probation or parole?
No. No,
Are you
sir.
employed, ma'am?
No, sir, I'm on SSD.
All right. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea for purposes of arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
I would, Your Honor. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond in this matter. My understanding in speaking with Ms. Weiser this morning is that she has zero criminal history. She's never been arrested or charged with any crime before. She is a very long time resident of Lansing. She's been in this community over 30 years. She is retired from Meyer. She is currently collecting Social Security disability. Again, Your Honor, I understand that this is essentially a DV component case. I certainly think that there are some other things going along here, at least with regards to the charge regarding Mr. Maldonado. Ms. Weiser certainly is very adamant about her positions on this case. I believe she fully intends to comply with any court hearings. I believe she will return to court when ordered to do so. I do not believe she is a danger to the community or a flight risk. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond for Ms. Weiser.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
I will simply say, Judge, based on her very limited and fixed income with Social Security disability being the only income, I would imagine that just about any bond in a cash amount is essentially a no bond for her. I'm just putting that out there, Judge.
All right, thank you. I do recognize. So if you're able to make the bond, I'll set the following conditions. You may go to the residence one time with a peace officer to get personal belongings. There's no use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription.
I do not.
There's no
No.
assaultive behavior. no
No,
out-of-state travel.
no,
You should have no contact
no,
with the individual who is Jesse Maldonado,
no,
and that's 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet of any place this person is, and that
Okay.
onus is on you, ma'am. So you
Yes.
have no contact, no firearms.
I don't have any firearms.
Good. Report to pre-trail, so we don't have to on a misdemeanor there. So those are the nature of your bond conditions would be able to go to the residence one time with a police officer, no use of alcohol or drugs, no out-of-state travel, no contact with Jesse Maldonado, and no firearms.
No.
I have looked, you have no criminal history, ma'am. There's a domestic assault, and that has to work itself out. There's also an attempt R&O that I did find that there was probable cause to believe had been committed concerning the affidavit that was written. I'm going to set bond at a low cash bond for our purposes at $1,000, 10%. And that's really because of the domestic assault and the accompanying R&O that comes along with it. I don't know if your criminal history would support that you're a dangerous person, but I do believe that the charges and the fact that this is an assaultive crime does necessitate a small 10% bond in this case.
Can I pay
Anything
that
else for the
bond
record?
tomorrow, please?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Because I don't get paid till tomorrow and I can't get no money out until tomorrow.
All right. Well, I mean, tomorrow, when you were able to make the $100 that's required, you can make bond in this case. Anything else on the record, Mr. Palmer, in People versus Candy Weiser?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. We're all set on that file.
Am I not able to leave then?
Ma'am,
I'm confused.
when you can make your 10% bond, that's when you'll be allowed to leave.
I'll explain it to you.
But I can't get to the bank until I get out. I don't know
All right.
anybody.
So we'll have Miss Almagar for next. All right, we're on the record in People versus Veronica Celeste Almagar. For the parties, ma'am, you are Veronica Celeste Almagar, and you can correct my pronunciation. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
You're fine. On my end, but you're fine. Thank you.
On my air, okay. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, on behalf of defendant. She will be making application for court-appointed counsel. I would ask that a not guilty plea be entered on her behalf.
All right, thank you. And I'll indicate that for the Register of Actions. Ma'am, I am going to indicate, this is your time for arraignment. I'm going to indicate the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you. The allegation reads that on April 2nd, 2023, at 205 Denver Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, did in count one make an assault or an assault and battery upon Antonio Aguirre, an individual to whom she had a dating relationship, contrary to MCL 750.81, parents 2. There's a restitution notice that restitution may be ordered in this case under the law of the State of Michigan. This is a misdemeanor, 93 days and or $500. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under 750.506A if the assault happened in a place of confinement. Do you understand the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. I understand you've had an advice of rights and you've signed it. I will just walk you through your misdemeanor trial rights in this matter. You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent till proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have the witnesses against you appear at trial, to question those witnesses against you, to have the court order any witnesses that you may have in your defense to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Ma'am, do you understand your misdemeanor rights in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. next hearing in this matter will be set for pretrial on April 17th at 10:30 in front of Judge Ward. You've indicated that you are represented by Robert Palmer for purposes of this arraignment from the PD's office, and you plan to seek additional representation from the public defender's office. Do you have a current address other than okay, so it looks like your current address that you've listed is different than the offense location. So
Yes.
that 1503 Owen Street, is that a good address for you to receive any information from the court?
Yes, that is my mailing address, and yes,
All right, and that would keep you out of contact with Antonio Aguirre, is that correct?
correct.
All right, so I'm going to indicate the 1503 Owen address for the court file.
Okay.
Do you have a phone that does a good contact information, ma'am?
Yes, I can give you my phone number.
All right,
517-525-2197.
all right, thank you. Are you on probation or parole?
No, sir.
Are you employed, ma'am?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea pursuant to request from counsel for your appearance today. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond. My client has, as she has indicated, has no criminal history that I'm aware of. Certainly, this is a domestic violence situation, but as the court's well aware, there are two sides of every story. And based on my conversation with my client, she fully intends to litigate this matter. She does have an address that she can reside at, as she's indicated, that is separate and apart from the complaining witness in this matter, that being her parents' home. She also was working up until just recently. I believe she's in the process of trying to find more work. I don't believe she's a flight risk or a danger to the community. I certainly believe she intends to return to court whenever scheduled to do so. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond. Thank you.
Thank you. If you're able to make bond, ma'am, I'm going to set the following bond conditions. No use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription. No assaultive behavior. No out-of-state travel. No contact with the victim in this case. So it'd be no contact within 2,000 feet of Antonio Aguirre. No possession of a firearm or other dangerous weapon. So those are the nature of the bond conditions. The defendant has no prior criminal history. That Ms. Out looked at that. This is a domestic assault, a 93-day misdemeanor. I don't see any prior criminal history. I don't see any additional counts. So I'm going to set another low cash bond. So it's $1,000, 10%, because of the nature of the crime, which is assaultive in nature. Anything else for the record in docket people versus Veronica? I'm going to mispronounce the name, but Almagar, Mr. Palmer.
Judge, just one thing. I know you said that the pretrial was on April 17th. I guess I missed the time.
10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m.
Well, as the court can see, my client's paying attention, so that's helpful. Thank you, Judge. I have nothing further.
All right. That's all for the record on people versus Veronica Celeste Almagar. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
I knew I was forgetting that. All right, and then we're on the record in Mr. Spitzley. So we're on the record in docket People versus Davian James Spitzley. Sir, you are Davian James Spitzley, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. Spitzley for the purposes of arraignment today. He will be making application for court-appointed counsel.
Thank you. So I'll indicate for the record that that's a yes as to Public Defender's Office. All right, this is the time set for arraignment, so I'll indicate the charges that have been brought against you and then some rights you have in this felony charge, sir. It is alleged in the complaint that on April 1st, 2023 at 5812 Selfridge Boulevard, City of Lansing, Hingham County, State of Michigan, that you did in count one, being the operator of a motor vehicle to whom was given a visual or audible signal by hand, voice, emergency light, or siren by Trooper Robert Delapelle. A police officer was in uniform and the officer's motor vehicle was identified as an official police motor vehicle, acting in the lawful performance of his or her duty, directing the defendant to bring his or her motor vehicle to a stop, did willfully fail to obey such direction by attempting to flee or elude the officer, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being MCL 7504479, parents 1, parents 2. That's a felony, 2 years under $2,000. Secretary of State shall suspend the operator's or chauffeur's license for any motor vehicle. Privilege to operate shall be suspended for a period of not to exceed 5 years, and DNA may be collected. Do you understand the nature of the felony charges that have been brought against you, sir?
Yes.
You have certain rights in this felony matter, and I'll walk you through those rights. You have the right to have a trial by jury, the right to be presumed innocent till proven guilty, to have the right to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against that you appear at trial, to question those witnesses, to have the court order any witnesses in your defense, to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand your trial rights in this felony charge, sir?
Yes.
All right. My understanding is it has been set so you have a probable cause conference set on April 14th at 9 a.m. and a preliminary examination set on April 21st at 9 a.m. You've indicated that you're going to apply for the public defender's office. So that preliminary examination is a probable cause hearing that within 21 days of today's date, your date of arraignment, you're entitled to a probable cause hearing in which the people of the state of Michigan would have to prove by probable cause evidence the identity of the person who committed the crime and that a crime was committed in this file. And you should be represented by counsel at that preliminary examination. Do you understand your preliminary examination rights, sir?
Yes.
All right. Do you have a current address? Is your current address correct on that Selfridge Boulevard address?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Selfridge Boulevard. And that's Lansing 48911.
Yes.
Do you have a phone number for the court file?
Yes. 517
517?
898 0657.
Are you on probation or parole?
No.
Are you employed, sir?
Yes.
Where are you employed?
West Rock.
Say that again?
It's called West Rock.
West Rock?
Yep.
It's called West Rock Packaging, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I'll enter a not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
I would, Your Honor. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond for Mr. Spitzley. My understanding is he has no criminal history. He does reside here in Lansing with his mother. He is working full time. He receives public assistance. Certainly, this is not a controlled substance or case of any kind. It's also not a violent offense or assaultive in nature in any way. I think Mr. Spitzley is a bright young man who's got a bright future in front of him. He was actually supposed to be leaving, or is supposed to be leaving, for college in Florida in July. I certainly think that Mr. Spitzley intends to return to court. I would ask that the court grant him a personal recognizance bond and allow him to do so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Palmer. If you're able to make a bond in this case, the following bond conditions will be set: no assaultive behavior, no use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription. The no out-of-state travel can be amended if you bring it to the court's attention, but for our purpose now, there'll be no out-of-state travel. I understand you may go to school outside of state, and then you can address that when you need to. No firearms, not possess a firearm or have a dangerous weapon concerning that. The CCH is non-existent in this case. I'm going to set bond at PR $2,500.
Thank you, Judge.
And so, you'll have to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of today's date. So Tuesday by 4, you should report to pretrial services. All right.
Is that
All right.
bond?
Anything else? Anything else for the record in People versus Davian Spitzley?
I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. You're all set, Mr. Spitzley. Thank you for your appearance today. Thank you. We're on the record in Mr. Morgan. So Majid Dewan Morgan.
Yes.
All right. So we're on the record in Majid Dewan Morgan. Sir, you are Majid Dewan Morgan?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. Majid Morgan for the purposes of arraignment. He will be making application for court-appointed counsel in this matter as well.
All right. Thank you. All right. So this is the time set for arraignment. Mr. Morgan, I'm going to read the essentials of the complaint that has been alleged against you. Now, the allegation is that on April 2nd, 2023, at Turner Street, Paulson Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, that in count 1 being the operator of a motor vehicle to whom was given a visual or audible signal by hand, voice, emergency light, or siren by Trooper Luke Schaefer, a police officer who was in the uniform, and the officer's motor vehicle was identified as official police motor vehicle acting in the lawful performance of his or her duty, directing the defendant to bring his motor vehicle to a stop, did willfully fail to obey such direction by attempting to flee and elude the officer in an area where the speed limit was 35 miles per hour or less, contrary to law of the state of Michigan, that being 750.47983. It's a felony, 5 years and or $5,000. The Secretary of State shall suspend the operator's license or chauffeur's license, and the privilege to operate shall be suspended for a period of not to exceed 5 years, are all potential penalties in this case. There's also a court shall order law enforcement to collect DNA identification before sentencing or disposition if not taken into arrest. Mr. Morgan, do you understand the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you?
Yes, sir.
All right. You have certain felony trial rights that you've already signed a piece of paper for. I will walk you through those rights quickly. You have the right to have a trial by jury. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty. You have the right to have witnesses against you appear at trial. You have the right to question those witnesses against you. You have the right to have the court order any witnesses appear in your defense. You have the right to remain silent during trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand the nature of your felony trial rights, sir?
Yes, can I ask a question?
Not if it relates to the facts of the case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better off if you don't speak to me about the facts of the case. Any questions, you could go to Mr. Palmer afterwards or to the PD's office, all right?
Okay.
All right. The probable cause conference is set for April 13th at 8:30. And you have a preliminary examination set on April 20th at 9 a.m.
Judge, did you say?
And it's my understanding, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Judge. I keep missing it. Did you say that the PCC is April what date at 8:30?
April 13th at 8:30.
Got it. I'm sorry for the interruption, Judge. Thank you.
No worries there. And then April 20th at 9 a.m.
Yep,
that
I
would
got
be
that
in
one.
front of my, yeah, that'll be in front of myself, Judge Flores.
Okay.
All right, do you have you have a current address for the court file? And I have that Hilewood Avenue address. Is that a good address for you, sir?
Yeah, but can I change my address to 217 West Howell?
Yeah, 217 West Elm.
Howell. West Howell, Howe.
Okay, West Hollow.
West Howell.
That's is that Lansing?
Yes, it's 2 blocks from the other house.
All right. And that's 48906.
Yes, sir.
And Judge,
And do you have a phone?
I just want to make sure you got it. It's Howe, not Howell. So it's just HOWE.
HOWE. Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a phone
Yeah.
for the court file?
Yes.
And what's that number, sir?
517-706-1662.
All right. Are you on probation or parole?
No.
Are you employed, sir?
Yes.
And where are you employed?
I do roadrunner maintenance. I work at the truck stops, pretty much in Michigan, and during security on the weekends when I need extra money.
I'll enter not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
I would, Your Honor. I would ask that the court
You may
consider a
proceed.
personal recognizance bond for Mr. Morgan. In speaking with Mr. Morgan, it's my understanding that he advises me that he's got no criminal history. He's got longstanding ties to this community. He's been in the Lansing community for more than 15 years. Additionally, he is working, as he just indicated, he's working 2 jobs. He works 1 job full-time for roadrunner maintenance. He also works a 2nd job on the side. He does have 1 child here in this area as well. I will point out that this is, although this is a felony matter, this is not an assaultive crime in nature. There's not any weapons involved here. This is not a major controlled substance case in any way. I certainly think that Mr. Morgan intends to return to court as scheduled to do so. I have every reason to believe that he is not a danger to the community or a flight risk. I would ask that the court consider personal recognizance bond.
All right, thank you. I do have 2 other files with Mr. Morgan, just so you're aware. But if you're able to make bond, I will set the following bond conditions on this case. No use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription, no assaultive behavior, no out-of-state travel, no firearms, and to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of release.
Okay. How much is bond?
This is a 5-year felony. There's a couple other bonds. I'm gonna set bond at $1,000, 10%, and then we'll address some of the other bonds, which really are the real problem here. All right. So this bond is set at $1,000, 10%. Anything else for the record concerning People versus Dewan, Mr. Palmer?
No, Your Honor. I do not have anything
right.
else further for this. And just to clarify, I believe that the other matters that the court's about to speak with him about are PPO violations, which I don't see him on. So
Correct.
All right. I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that.
One is a PA 53 and the other one's out of 30th Circuit Court.
Understood, Judge. So the court, just to clarify, the court does not need my assistance for those other files. Is that right?
Not on those two. I'm just going to indicate why he's got a warrant on each file for him, and
Understood.
then set bond on it.
Understood, Judge. I will be on standby should the court need anything from me.
All right. All right. So we're on the record in docket 22-02922. That's People of the State of Michigan versus Majid Don Morgan. And sir, this is the time set. I'm going to arraign you on this violation bond condition out of the 30th Circuit Court. So what you'll get is you'll get a date to appear on the bond condition, and this was a PPO violation. And pursuant to the PPO violation, which it looks like it had to do with Patricia Faith Essie Mae Chisholm as the victim. There's a current circuit court personal protection order that the accusation is you violated them. You violated this. That's why you had a warrant out for you. And on this matter, I'm going to remand you until this matter is taken care of by the 30th Circuit Court.
I have
You
my
can,
court
but
date
you should be really careful.
Okay, I'll just say I have my court date for that, and he called me on the phone and said it was over with. I didn't know I violated my PPO.
All right. Well, you're still under remand, and until you have that court date, you're remanded on that file. You also have a PA 53 violation in regards to 23-00939, and that's a Judge Simmons case. And in pursuant to that, Judge Simmons has indicated that you violated a no contact order in front of her. So that's the nature of the bench warrant, is the arraignment on the PA 53 violation.
So I have a warrant out for my arrest, you're saying?
You have two, we're clearing up two warrants that you have. Okay, so this one is a violation of the bond condition.
Yeah, because I got arrested. I'm sorry.
And part of the bond condition is to have no contact with Patricia Chisholm, and that there's an indication that you were violated on that.
Was that yesterday or anything like that?
Let me see what the judge put.
Are they saying I violated myself yesterday, or this is like previous violation?
All right.
Judge,
So
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead, Mr. Palmer.
I'm sorry. Could the court give me the case number on the file that he's alleged to have violated a PA 53 with Judge Simmons on?
235. Oh, I can give you the case number 22-00939. 23-00939. That's the district court number.
Question, did I violate those yesterday, or that's just previously violation?
That's a violation of the no contact order. It looks by calling.
Okay.
The reason I asked, Judge, is that I don't actually see any files in our system for Judge. I'm not debating the court. Just to be clear,
Right.
I don't see any files in our system for him indicating that he is either on bond or on probation from Judge Simmons. So I'm confused as to why there's a PA 53 there.
It's a Judge Simmons on the bond.
I have my court date on Friday.
Yeah.
And
All right. So this is what the computer reads, Mr. Palmer. Just so.
Judge Simmons arraigned him and set a PA 53 with no contact with Patricia Chisholm. He was arraigned on March 22nd of 2023. He has an upcoming pretrial hearing with Judge Buchanan on 4/11 at 9:30. His conditions included no contact, not to commit a crime, no alcohol, no assault of crimes, no out-of-state travel, just the standard PEA 53, no contact orders, along with not to possess a firearm.
I
So
see.
he was violated based on those,
That's why that's why he was violated.
yes.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Somehow that case has not made it into our system yet. So I was confused on that because I wasn't seeing it. I do see it now in the court system now that I have
All right.
although,
So on that, so that the date will be the date you'll receive a date from that'll be Judge Buchanan.
Yeah, he'll get a date. It'll most
Yeah.
likely be the same date as the pre-trial.
Okay, so that'll be a Judge Buchanan set hearing and you'll get that date. I don't have a bond set on that hearing date, that no contact, but I'm gonna remand you on that case, on that also, until you can figure out the hearing dates and circuit court and district court. They're both no contact orders that have been alleged to have been violated. And so I'll remand you on that also.
I have paperwork about those cases in my bag, but it's not on me right now.
Look, I don't know the facts of the case. I do know that you'll get a day in court to indicate any defenses you might have. So
Okay.
that's all on the second PA 53 violation involving Mr. Morgan. You're all set, sir.
I could. Yeah.
thank you, Judge, and sorry for the interruptions on those. I was just trying to clarify.
No, and I was a little confused by the cases also.
Yeah,
So-
somehow the one that new or that DV case with the PA 53 is not in our system yet, so I wasn't seeing it, and then I
Right.
became even more confused.
All right, so let's do Mr. Perry Johnson. And I do have a couple files on Mr. Perry Johnson also.
Yes, sir.
So we're on the record in People versus Jeremiah Micah Perry Johnson. Sir, you are Jeremiah Micah Perry Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Perry Johnson for the purposes of arraignment today. He will be making application for court-appointed counsel, and I would ask that a not guilty plea be entered on his behalf.
Thank you. And I will place on the ROA that he will be making contact with the public defenders in order to make additional application. Sir, this is the time set for arraignment, and I'll indicate the nature of the charges that have been brought against you in the felony complaint. It appears that on April 1st, 2023, at Waverly and Bridgeport, City of Lansing, Ingham County, that in count 1, you did carry a dangerous weapon, to wit, a pistol, concealed on or about his or her person, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that being MCL 750.227. It's a felony, 5 years, under $2,500, mandatory forfeiture of weapon or device. In count 2, did assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger Officer Kyle Jenks, a police officer of Lansing Police Department, that the defendant knew or had reason to know was performing his or her duties, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan, that's being 750.81D, parents 1. Felony, 2 years, under $2,000. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the laws of the state of Michigan if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Count 3, weapons, felony, firearm, did carry or have in his possession a firearm, to it a pistol at the time he committed or attempted to commit a felony, to it resisting, obstructing a police officer, contrary to MCL 750.227B. It's a felony, 2 years consecutive with any term of imprisonment imposed for the felony or attempted felony conviction, mandatory forfeiture of weapon or device, and the court shall order any law enforcement to collect the DNA identification profile sampling at sentencing or disposition if not taken at arrest. Mr. Perry Johnson, do you understand the nature of the charges that have been brought against you?
Yes.
All right. You have certain rights in these felony counts, and these are all felony counts. So I'll walk you through those. You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to question the witnesses, to have the court order any witnesses that you may have in your defense to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand your felony trial rights in this matter, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
This has been set for probable cause conference in front of Judge Buchanan on April 13th at 9 a.m. And preliminary examination is set for April 20th at 10 a.m. in front of Judge Buchanan. My understanding is that you are going to seek representation from the public defender's office. That April 20th date is a preliminary examination. At a preliminary examination, the people of the state of Michigan have to prove by probable cause evidence that a crime has been committed and the identity of the person who committed that crime. Do you understand your preliminary rights? You have a right to a prelim within 21 days of today's date. Do you understand that your preliminary right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to, I have the 5919 South Waverly address. Is that still a good address for you, sir?
No, I don't live there, sir. I don't live in Lansing, sir.
All right,
I
what is a good address for any contact info?
I ain't gonna lie, you can just keep giving that address right now until I like get out and like get like my stuff switched over for real. Cause that's my mother's house.
Just to be
All
clear, Judge, what my client is saying there, that's the best mailing address is the one that the court has on file on South Waverly Road. That is,
All
as
right.
he just indicated, that is his mother's house. My understanding is that my client is quasi homeless. He's trying to establish a residence, but for the time being, that Waverly Road address is the best mailing address.
All right, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Do you have a phone number that you can be reached at?
They took everything. I don't got no phone right now until I get out.
All right. Are you on probation or parole, sir?
Yes, I'm on probation.
What court are you on probation to? 54A?
Yeah.
All right, are you employed?
I just quit my job because of this little stuff I gotta take care of.
All right, I'm gonna enter a not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask that the court consider setting bond in an appropriate amount. I'm asking for a low 10% bond if the court will not consider a personal recognizance bond. I understand that he was on probation. I also understand that the nature of the offenses. With that said, Your Honor, my client is still a young man. He still has a bright future in front of him. He enjoys the presumption of innocence at this time. He does have a stable address that he can return to if needed, which is his mother's address on Waverly Road. Certainly, my client advises that he intends to return to court and take care of these matters. I would ask that the court consider a personal recognizance bond or a low 10% bond.
Thank you, counsel. I do have a prior assaultive, well, I do have a limited criminal history, but it looks like this crime was committed on bond and it does involve a firearm. I'm going to set bond at $3,000, 10%. If you were able to make bond, I'm going to set the following bond conditions. No use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription. No assaultive behavior. No out-of-state travel. No possession of a firearm. And to report to pretrial services within 48 hours.
Judge, it looks like my client has a question.
Mr. Perry Johnson, you have a question?
I just had to say one thing, like the address he was telling you, like that's where I get my mail and stuff at, but I don't live there. I live in Jackson right now. Like that's where I live at. That's like where I've been living at. You know, I just got to deal with Lansing because of my court actions and stuff. But I don't.
All right, as long as that's the best address for you to get information.
Y'all can get my information there. That's where I get all my information from. That's where I want you to send my mail to. That's all I was trying to say. But I ain't got nothing else.
Okay. I placed that 5919 Waverly Road as the contact address. And I've set bond at 3,010%. Anything else for the record, Mr. Palmer?
Not in this file, Judge. No, thank you.
All right, thank you. That's all for the record in this file. And then we have Mr. Johnson on a probation violation. And so it is alleged that on or about March, so you are Jeremiah Micah Perry Johnson, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Palmer, are you on this file also, appearance for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. Perry Johnson for the purposes of arraignment today.
All right, and this was set for a probation violation hearing. The reason for the bench warrant is you failed to appear at your probation violation hearing on March 21st, 2023. That's on motion, affidavit, and bench warrant that was signed by court officers and then signed by myself on March 21st. Do you understand the nature of the allegation that you failed to appear on your probation violation?
Yeah, but I just had court with you last week. We had court last week on Zoom. Unless I had another court date.
I don't know. So you'll get information concerning that court date to be within 48 hours of today is what the notice says. So you'll get information concerning that.
I'm saying I just had court with you, like me and you just discussed court last month. So I don't know how I missed court unless I had another court date I didn't know about.
We'll set it. It's going to be set for hearing. And once again, we'll use the Waverly address. So Waverly address.
Can I do in person court? Cause I don't know how to do the Zoom and stuff for real. Cause
you can, Mr. Perry Johnson, you can always come in person. All right. You can always come in person.
I don't like doing that Zoom. That Zoom stuff be tripping, and I don't want y'all to think I'm balling or nothing. I just like coming in person.
So I'm going to enter a not guilty. Well, this is a violation of fail to appear. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask again with regards to this one. I would ask that the court, since the court's already given him a 10% bond in the other matter, I would ask the court give him a very low 10% bond in this matter as well. Sounds to me like there may have been some notice requirements or notice confusion about when he was supposed to appear. As my client has indicated, he just apparently recently had court with this court within the last week or two. So I'm not sure he was aware that he had some other court date that he was supposed to be appearing at.
All right, thank you. So we'll set bond in this matter for the fail to appear. Bond is set at 2,010%. So that's all for the record, docket 22-00387. And then we have another file with Mr. Johnson. And I think he needs to be arraigned on this file, if I'm correct.
Is this the 23-0090 FY?
This is a 23. That should be a 23, not a 22, right? 23-00090. That's correct, Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, I looked that one up because I saw that as well, Judge. I think the court's correct. I think he needs to be arraigned on it. That's not in my system, and I don't see where he's ever been arraigned on that before.
Right. I think he has to be arraigned on that case. So we're on the record in docket 23-0090. Sir, you are Jeremiah Perry Johnson, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer on behalf of Mr. Perry Johnson for the purposes of arraignment today. He will also be making application for court-appointed counsel in this file.
All right, thank you. And this is the time set for an arraignment on a case on this file. I'll indicate what charges have been alleged against you in this felony complaint. It is alleged that on October 2nd, 2022 at 529 North Clifford, City of Lansing, Ingham County, that yourself, Jeremiah Micah Perry Johnson, did in count one, carry a dangerous weapon to wit a handgun concealed on or about his person, contrary to the law state of Michigan, that being MCL 750.227. It's a felony, 5 years or $2,500, mandatory forfeiture of weapon or device. Count 2, assault with a dangerous weapon, did make an assault upon Michael Weller with a dangerous weapon, to wit a handgun, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder, contrary to law of the state of Michigan, that being MCL 750.82. It's a felony, 4 years and or $2,000. DNA to be taken upon arrest. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under 750.506 if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. The court shall order a law enforcement collect a DNA identification profiling sample before sentencing or disposition if not taken at arrest. Mr. Perry Johnson, do you understand the allegations that have been brought against you?
No, I don't understand that one.
You don't understand. You don't understand that you've been charged with. Okay, so
I understand.
they're only allegations right now, sir. But do you understand CCW and felonious assault?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So you have some felony rights in this trial. I'll indicate those for the record. You have the right to be tried by jury, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to question those witnesses against you, to have the court order any witnesses that may need to appear for your defense, to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand the nature of your trial rights in this matter, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I have for purposes, you're going to make application to the public defender's office. There's a probable cause conference set on April 13th at 8:30 in front of myself, and a preliminary examination is set on April 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in front of myself, Judge Flores.
Yeah, I was finna say, can that both be in Zoom? Like I was telling you, I'm really hard with Zoom.
No,
I don't know how to work it.
Both the probable conference can be in Zoom. Preliminary examination has to be live. Okay, that has to be live. That's an evidentiary. That's an evidentiary. So there's no argument here. The prelim's got to be live. All right, sir.
No, I was finna ask you, what else can I do though? Because when I was trying to do it last time on my phone, it was tripping.
Just come in person. Just show up in person.
Yeah.
Don't bother with Zoom. Just come live.
All right.
All right.
Judge, Judge, before we forget, I do want to just make one thing or make the court aware so that we're all on the same page here. Obviously, this morning he has been arraigned on 2 different felony files. I will point out that the 2 different felony files are, I realize it's the same court, it's 54A, but one of them is set with Judge Buchanan and one of them set with this court, with you, Judge. And they are scheduled for PCCs and prelims on the same days at different times, but at the same courts. So I do want to make that the court aware of that. I don't know if the court will do judicial consolidation or how that'll work.
Yeah, I think I get them all, Mr. Palmer, since I have the oldest case. I think I'm going to end up with all of them.
I think that was how I understood it to be as well, Judge. But
right,
I just wanted to bring it to the court's attention so that there's no confusion down the road.
That's my understanding, Mr. Palmer. And yeah, I think on Monday they're going to reassign the case to this court, and so Mr. Perry Johnson will have to just worry about one date. He won't have multiple dates. So keep in mind, Mr. Perry Johnson, April 13th is your probable cause conference, and April 20th is your preliminary examination. Most likely, all your cases are going to come to this court on those dates, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to indicate the same Waverly Road address. And the same phone number.
What phone number you put?
None right now. You don't have a number, so I was
just gonna say I don't got no number right now.
Yep. Probation and parole answers are the same. Employment is the same. I'm going to enter a not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Again, Your Honor, I would ask that the same argument be made. I would ask that bond be set in the low 10% amount. Obviously, Mr. Perry Johnson has a couple of different cases that are swinging around right now. He continues to enjoy the presumption of innocence in this matter. I certainly believe he will return to court whenever ordered to do so. And he has a stable address or a relatively stable address with his mother where he can receive mail and contact information like that. I would ask that the court set a comparable bond to the other matters that were before the court today.
Thank you. So if you're able to make bond, I'm going to set the following bond conditions. No use of alcohol or drugs, no assaultive behavior, no out-of-state travel, no contact with the victim, in this case, a Michael Weller. Well, that is 2,000 feet of Mr. Weller, of his person. No firearms, no possession of a firearm or other dangerous weapon, and to report to pretrial services within 48 hours.
Pre-trials. So
I've had
So
the
what you saying-
opportunity to see and have some experience with Mr. Perry Johnson.
Judge, you said 48 hours out the pretrial services. So what you mean by that? Like, give me more understanding so I can be on the same page as you.
Just to be clear,
So you should
I'm sorry, Judge.
Once you're released, you'll need to report to pretrial. If you're able to make bond and get released, you should go to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release.
That's like at the courthouse or like a different building. I got a call or something.
There's a paper that we gave you that has a number.
Oh, okay, never mind. I know now. I just have to make sure so I can be on the same page.
All right. Mr. Palmer, I think he knows where to report.
I think
Yeah,
so
know where
as
to
well.
I know where to report now. I was just confused because you said pretrial services. I ain't like, yeah, I
All
know
right.
now.
I have a prior CCH of history limit. I do have a prior domestic on this. For our purposes and for the charges that have been made and probationary matters that are already set, these are allegations, but it's a 5-year and a 4-year, both concerning a gun charge. I'm going to set bond in this matter at 8,010%. I'm sorry.
That's just on that charge.
8,000. Yeah, 8,010% is right. Just on this charge.
Understood, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for the record in docket 230090, Mr. Palmer?
I have nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we're all set on Mr. Perry Johnson.
My bad.
All right.
I think we have. Are you on the other cases too? So we have Mr. Weston, Miss Weston,
Mr.
Mr. Weston.
Yeah, so that's a failure to appear for a probation violation, is that right?
Right. That's correct.
And the other one, the traffic, he's already been arraigned on that, is that right?
Let's check to see. Yeah, on Weston Lloyd. I'm confused by your notes here. Is it Weston McKinley Lloyd?
Those aren't.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think his first name is McKinley Lloyd, middle name Weston is the last name.
Okay, McKinley Lloyd Weston.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, 2 warrants.
And this one is for fail to appear, right?
You have 19 well,
I have 19-01-003.
that's probation violation, so that one definitely has to be seen.
Yeah, the other one's a traffic, I think.
It's false information. I don't see what he has in other matters other than those 2 pending.
All right. I'll rate him on this one.
The confusion, Judge, for me with regards to Mr. Weston is that the form I got shows that the other matter, the furnishing false info, has a file number of 22-030092, but it also indicates that he's already been granted a personal recognizance bond in that, even though that file is not in our system. So I don't know if he's been arraigned on that yet or what's going
I don't know either, Mr. Palmer.
on. Excellent. We're on the same page then, Judge.
Yep, we are definitely on the same page. Yeah, so I'm gonna let Wendy explain to you what's in the computer, but it appears that you have an understanding.
Okay.
Mr. Palmer, he has not been arraigned on the charge, and it would appear that LPD followed their regular policy and procedure on this matter, and they are releasing him on a PR bond on this matter. However, the probation violation matter, he needs to be seen on, as it was a no bond situation, I believe.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense to
Does
me.
that help?
What you said.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am. That makes complete sense.
All right, perfect. So we're on the record in docket 19-010003. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Weston McKinley Lloyd. And sir, you are Weston McKinley Lloyd. I'm sorry, you are McKinley Lloyd Weston.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. McKinley Weston for the purposes of arraignment today. I want to make something clear here, Judge. He is applying for court-appointed counsel to represent him in this matter. I am not entirely sure. We will get him a counsel. I will make that clear. It's not entirely clear whether my office can represent him. There was without going into all the details, there was a very tragic case that our office represented another individual on and may have caused a conflict with Mr. Weston, but we will find him conflict counsel if that's the case. Joseph Yang represented him on the underlying underlying case for that matter, for that reason.
All right. All right. So I'll indicate for the record that Mr. Weston is going to seek public defender's counsel and maybe conflict. That'll be conflicted out in regards to this file. And the bench warrant was issued on or about, so it's for motion affidavit and bench warrant, was issued by Kelly Giesinger. Defendant failed to appear for probation violation arraignment on February 13th, 2023. Do you understand the nature of the allegation against you that you failed to appear for your probation violation?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
All right. You have the right to a hearing in this matter. You have the right to counsel. You, of course, are going to look to the public defender's office in regards to counsel in this matter. I have at this time an 816 Prospect Street address. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then I have a phone number of 517-944-9865. Is that correct or is that changed?
That's correct.
All right, so this will be set for hearing in front of Judge Buchanan. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond? I do have a bond recommendation already in the file from Judge Buchanan.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to be heard on on this. My guess is that based on my knowledge of Judge Buchanan, there will be a recommendation for remand. Nonetheless, and my client and I have discussed that. Nonetheless, I'm asking the court to consider something different, Your Honor. My client is working full-time. He works as a painter. He also, my understanding is there may have been a notice issue with regards to his prior failure to appear on that warrant. I would ask that the court consider bond in a low 10% bond, if the court is not inclined to follow Judge Buchanan's recommendation.
All right, thank you. I would set the same bond conditions that have already been set. This is Mr. Weston's fifth fail to appear in a 3-page register of actions. So I'm gonna assume that Judge Buchanan has great fear that he failed to appear, and he will please So I'll accept a recommendation to remand the defendant.
Understood.
Anything else for the record in docket 1901003, Mr. Palmer?
I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You're all set, Mr. Weston.
Yeah, 1 second.
And then we have Mr. Perry.
Yep.
Is Perry all? What is Perry? I've lost track. Huh?
That's why you bring me my jacket.
On all of them. All right. This is him. Do I have to arraign him on any of these? Are they all bench warrants?
The first one is a new one.
All right. All right. Sir, you are James Perry?
I am, yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record?
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. James Perry for the purposes of arraignment today.
All right. Does Mr. Perry, in your conversations, does he intend to request counsel from the Public Defender's Office on this file? I don't think he's ever been arraigned on this.
Okay, he does, Your Honor, and I will say that he, first of all, to just clarify, is he being arraigned on 22-01007?
I have 23-01007.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Judge, 23. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yes, he intends to request court-appointed counsel on this file. He is already represented by our office on a number of other files, albeit ones that are currently inactive because of prior failures to appear.
All right. All right. So this is the date of arraignment, Mr. Perry. I'm going to indicate to you the nature of the allegations that have been brought against you in this misdemeanor file. It does allege that on or about December 18th, 2022, at 1215 East Michigan, City of Lansing, that you did trespass by refusing to leave or unlawfully remained upon the premises of another 1215 East Michigan Avenue in Lansing, contrary to the laws of the state of Michigan. That's 660.02. That's actually that's the code of Lansing. It's 90 days in jail and or $500 fine. In count 2, did hinder, oppose, obstruct, or resist a Lansing police officer in the performance of law enforcement duties at or near 1215 East Michigan Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, contrary to the code of Lansing 602.02. Maximum penalty is 90 days in jail and or $500 fine. Do you understand the nature of the misdemeanor charges that have been alleged against you, sir?
I do.
You have certain trial rights in this misdemeanor matter, and I'll walk you through those quickly. You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have the witnesses against you appear at trial, to question the witnesses against you, to have the court ordering witnesses that you may need in your defense, to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand your trial rights in this matter, Mr. Perry?
I do, yes, Your Honor.
All right. My understanding is you're going to reach out to the public defender's office, is going to represent you, or going to seek representation in this file. They previously represented you. Mr. Palmer is here and for arraignment purposes only. And this will be, I don't have a date for this. Is that right? So you'll get a date on this file, notice of appear date, within 48 hours. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
You know, I really.
Do you have? So I'm going to indicate, sir, you still do not have a date of. You don't have an address. Is that correct?
I do have an address.
What's your address, sir?
But I used to have a payee, and payee fired themselves and cut
Okay.
my money off.
Do you have a phone
And-
number for the court's file, sir?
It was on the payee's phone number.
All right.
Payee
Are you on probation or parole?
No, sir, Your Honor. No.
All right. Are you employed, sir?
No.
All right. I'll enter a not guilty plea for purposes of this arraignment. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Yes, Your Honor. My client has advised me that he is largely homeless, that he did not receive notice of prior court dates. And I realize there's a number of things going on here, Judge, so I'm trying to make sure I get this right.
Right.
Part of what he's discussing here, Judge, is that he receives disability, he did have up until recently a payee. My understanding was that the telephone number and to the extent that they were able to court notices, things like that, were going to the payee's address. I think part of the problem now is that because the payee, whatever the story is, because Mr. Perry and the payee are no longer working together and associated, I believe that Mr. Perry was unaware or has advised me that he was not receiving notice for some of his upcoming court dates, and that's why he had not appeared before. Now that we do not have a payee and we do not have a good contact number for him, I'm not sure how we're going to deal with that in the future, but it does sound to me like Mr. Perry may have been confused in terms of what his responsibilities were regarding his next court dates. With all that said, Judge, I would ask that the court set a bond in an appropriate amount, given the nature of the offense and his criminal history.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. If you're able to make bond, sir, I'm going to set the following bond conditions: no use of alcohol or drugs without a prescription, no assaultive behavior, no out-of-state travel, no possession of a firearm. This is a trespass at lower level, but we have several files and we do have some concern. I'm going to set bond in this matter at 4,010%, and 21 days. So the defendant can be released on PR bonded after 21 days.
Understood, Judge.
So that's all for the record, docket 23-01007. And then we're on the record in docket 22-002388. And that's, so you are James Perry, sir, once again?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
All
Your
right.
Honor.
And counsel, your appearance on the record on 22-02388.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, on behalf of the defendant.
And sir, this is a time that I'm going to indicate an arraignment why you had a bench warrant out for you. It was for failure to appear on a motion affidavit bench warrant signed by Kelly Gissinger on January 11, 2023, for fail to appear for pretrial on January 9, 2023. And bond was set by Judge Buchanan on that file. Do you understand the nature of the allegation that you failed to appear on that January 9th date, sir?
I understand it now that it's been brought to my attention, but I had a payee that just did me wrong.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna have the address and phone number transferred pursuant. You plan to be represented in this file by the Public Defender's Office, Mr. Perry?
Yes, Your Honor. All
right, and so Mr. Palmer, I believe for this you'll seek representation.
That's correct, Judge.
All right. I'm going to automatically, well, we have that contest. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond on 22-02388?
Thank you again, Judge. Same bond argument. I would ask that the court set a bond in an appropriate amount, given the nature of the offense. It sounds like it's going to be the same argument on all the cases before the court today.
All right.
I think it was a notice issue.
So it's $400 cash or surety that was sent by Judge Buchanan. I will indicate that after 21 days, 21 days, the defendant can be PR bonded. Is that correct? After 21 days? All right, so that's all for the record, 22-02388. She had 400 cash surety. 400 cash surety. And then we're on the record in docket 22-02371. And that is also, so sir, you are James Perry once again?
I am, Your Honor, yes.
All right, and this is docket 22-02371. Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you again, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, on behalf of Mr. Perry for the purposes of arraignment today.
All right, the allegation and the bench warrant was issued on March 14th, 2023, signed by Judge Buchanan in a motion affidavit and bench and warrant that you failed to appear for sentencing on March 14th, 2023. That is the allegation. Do you understand the nature of the allegation that you failed to appear for sentencing on March 14th, 2023?
Your Honor, I do understand that, but I wasn't giving it to it. I had a payee that did me wrong, Your Honor.
All right, I understand. I'm just making sure you understand the nature of the allegation.
Oh, yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right. So there is a bond recommendation set in this file. Mr. Palmer, I'm gonna move all addresses and phone numbers. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on this bond? I understand it's the same argument.
Your Honor, if the court can renew my argument from the previous files, I'll just do it that way.
All right. Judge Buchanan has set bond in this case. It's set for $3,000 cash or surety. I'm going to indicate that that the defendant was arraigned on this file for the fail to appear, and bond was set per the judge's request. And the defendant is to be PR bonded after 21 days. If that's outside of the hearing date. So I have a PR at 21 days on this one. All right. Anything else for the record? Docket 22-02371, Mr. Palmer.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. And then we have docket. I probably have to sign up. Yeah. So we also have docket 22-02389. That is People of the State of Michigan versus Perry James C. Perry. And sir, you are once again James Perry?
James Chadwick Perry, yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. And Mr. Palmer, your appearance for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, on behalf of Mr. Perry.
All right, this is time set for an arraignment today. I'll indicate the nature of the arraignment brought against you, indicating the bench warrant on motion and affidavit and bench warrant. It was signed by January 11th, 2023 by Kelly Giesinger. The defendant failed to appear for pretrial on January 9th, 2023 in front of Judge Buchanan once again on a separate file. Judge Buchanan has set a bond on this matter. Do you understand the nature that, once again, as previously, just the allegation is that you failed to appear for pretrial? I understand you're indicating there's a reason for that, but do you understand the nature of the allegation brought against you for fail to appear?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Palmer. So you'll get a date indicating your date of hearing in front of Judge Buchanan. My understanding is you are going to reach out to the Public Defender's Office for representation in this matter. Mr. Palmer, would you like to be heard on bond?
Again, Your Honor, I would renew my request regarding bond being set an appropriate amount given his prior notice issues.
All right, thank you. We do have a bond set at 400 cash or surety, so we'll continue that. But I will indicate for the record that the defendant can be released after 21 days on PR. Anything else for the record in docket 22-02389, Mr. Palmer?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're all set, Mr. Perry. Thank you for your appearance today, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Palmer, we should be all set today.
Awesome.
So enjoy your Sunday, okay?
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, thank you.
All right. See
Jail,
you,
thank you for your help. You're all set today.
See you, Judge.
All right, see you, Mr. Palmer.